Okay, welcome. One more time, this session we'll be talking about the undergraduate admission process. And this is mainly for you to start an undergraduate degree, a licenciatura in the United States. This is the agenda. This is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to talk briefly about what Education USA is. Usually our admission process and all of our activities and services are based in 5 steps for US studies. So we're going to be covering those today. Being the first one, researching your options, completing your application, also how to finance your study, how to apply for your student visa, and also at the end, we will be sharing with you a calendar that if you decide to start an advising process with us, we're gonna be following that, and also we'll let you know how you can start, how you can get started in this whole process. And as I mentioned, we will be reviewing some questions at the end. So first of all, what is Education USA? I know for some of you, this is probably the first time that you participate at one of our events, or you are probably already familiar with our services. If not, this will be a great reminder. So we are a global network of advising centers from U.S. State Department in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy here in Mexico. We help you so you can study in the United States. We offer accurate, comprehensive, and current information about the different opportunities that exist to study at accredited institutions in the US. We have about 23 advising centers in Mexico, and all of our services and all of our activities are free of charge. Our advising center in Mexico City covers audiences from Mexico City, Estado de Mexico, and Morelos. If you currently live in a different state than Mexico City, Estado de Mexico, and Morelos, you are welcome to stay in this session. But at the end, I will recommend you to get in contact with your closest advising center. I will share with you a list of the advising centers in Mexico, and I will encourage you to reach out to them so they can start helping you in this process. Again, our advising center in Mexico City covers audiences from Mexico City, Estado de Mexico, and Morelos. If you are from a different area, you're welcome to stay, of course, in this presentation, but I will strongly suggest you to get in contact with them, with your closest advising center. This is some of our activities and services that we offer. As I mentioned, all of our services, all of our activities are free of charge. We have an advising center that is located at the Benjamin Franklin Library, which is the U.S. Embassy's library. It's located in Colonia Juarez in Mexico City. Here in our center, we do have info sessions similar to this one. We just have them in person. We also have one-on-one sessions, different activities such as workshops, fairs, visits from different institutions from the US, etc. We do also have materials and all the guides and everything, every resource that you need in order to start this advising process. We do also have virtual activities like this one on webinars, fairs, seminars, and also we can do one-on-one virtual sessions. And we do also have outreach activities where we'll go outside, we do some visits to different institutions to also let them know about our services and our activities. So let's get started. We're gonna first start talking about how you can start researching your options. So in the US, there are more than 4,000 accredited higher education institutions in the US. This means that you do have many options from where to choose from. I know some of you might be already familiar with some institutions. That's perfect. I know some of you also are familiar with those institutions who are very highly competitive or that have a very low admission rate, that is great. But our objective at Education USA, our work is to help you explore what other different opportunities exist. We can help you and we give you the resources so you can find the college or the university that will best fit your needs, also your academic profile, your interests, and also your budget. So we recommend you so that you start doing this process between 12 to 18 months prior to the academic year. Of course, there are students who make this process in less time. It's okay, it is possible. Just I want you to know that the longer or the more time that you have, it's gonna be better. So yeah, I want you to know that the US, it's a great option for you, because if it's of its different institutions that exist. And we're going to be talking about now the different institutions that exist in the US, the different types. So we have to start by letting you know that an undergraduate degree, licenciatura in the United States, it's usually about 4 years long. I think it's pretty similar to what we're used to in Mexico. So licenciatura, it's usually 4 years. It lasts for you to finish a program 4 years. We do have different types of institutions. First of all, we have community colleges. And also I want you to know that we don't have the equivalent here in Mexico as a community college. I think the most similar thing that we can have, or that so you understand, it's having carrera técnica. So community colleges are mostly public institutions that can give you an associate's degree. This program, it's usually 2 years long, okay? Once you finish an associate degree at a community college, you are required, most likely, if you want to get your bachelor's degree, if you want to get a licenciatura, you most likely will be transferring to a 4-year institution so you can finish your bachelor's degree. This is called a 2+2 program. Also, at community colleges, it's very common for students to go there to pursue an English program, an ESL program. And also at a community college, you can get a short-term technical training certificate programs where you can get different areas of studies. So you get certification and also some kind of, I forgot the word, training in different areas. In comparison to colleges and universities, so colleges and universities are usually institutions where you can study an undergraduate degree in 4 years, but you can also study a graduate program. That means you, in a college or university, you can find also master's degree or doctorate degrees. So a few other differences that we find at universities, it's that the population is bigger. There is more diversity of students. We do have colleges and universities that can be public or private. At a university, you can also experience or live that U.S. college experience that you get to see, for example, in movies or TV shows. At a university, you can also experience different sports, student government, clubs, fraternities, parties, and many, many other activities. So I want you to understand that first, community colleges are institutions where you can get an associate's degree. That means you study the first 2 years, and then you transfer to a university to finish your last 2 years. Okay, remember that In the US, it's a total of 4 years to study an undergraduate degree. So first you start at community college, and then you transfer to a university to finish your program, and you get your bachelor's degree, your licenciatura. I will say that if you're interested in starting at a community college from the very beginning, you probably need to know where would you like to transfer after, because once you start a community college, you want to get or you want to start taking those classes that will eventually transfer to a university. So that's something that you need to take in mind. And if you start at a community college, for example, say in the state of California, and then you want to transfer to a 4-year institution in the state of New York, uh, across the country, that's okay. You can do that. It doesn't matter where it is. Of course, there are some community colleges and some universities that they have some agreements in the transfer. It can be maybe a little bit easier, a little bit friendlier, but it is possible no matter where you start studying your community college, and then if you want to transfer to a different university in a different state, it is possible. Now I want to talk to you about concept that it's specifically and unique to the US, to the US higher education. So liberal arts. Liberal arts, universities that are considered liberal arts are those universities who can give you the opportunity to get general knowledge, to develop general intellectual capacities, as you see on screen, such as reason and judgment. At a liberal arts university, you will be required to complete general courses in some of the areas that you see on screen: humanities, arts, psychology, history, writing, political science, math, etc. For, I'll say, probably the first 2 years of your program. And then in your third or fourth year is when you are going to be doing a major concentration. Okay, I'm going to put you an example so it makes a little bit more sense. So for example, I had the opportunity to study in the US at a liberal arts public university in the US. So my first 2 years, I have to take general courses like the ones that you see on screen, because it was a requirement for me to graduate. This gives the opportunity and gave me the opportunity to also learn a little bit more about different areas of study. And this is very helpful for those students who probably are not ready or they are not sure about what they want to study. This gives them the opportunity to explore different areas of study for the first 2 years. And then you choose your area of study. So as I was telling you my example, so my first 2 years, by that time, I wanted to study art, and I only wanted to take art classes, but I was required to complete general courses my first 2 years. So for example, I ended up taking an astronomy class for the science requirement that I needed to fulfill. So I ended up taking an astronomy class. And I really liked it. I never thought that I would need to take an astronomy class in college for me to graduate. And also, it gave me the opportunity to learn something new. I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun, and I really liked it. So this, as I mentioned, this gives the opportunity to students to explore different areas, to learn general knowledge, and as you see on screen, and also to develop general intellectual capacities. So this is something unique from the US. I know here in Mexico, some schools might have that, but it's not the same. Here in Mexico, usually, when you enroll at a university, the school will tell you specifically which classes you need to take each semester. There might be a few electives, but in comparison to the US and liberal arts, as I mentioned, the first 2 years, you get to choose which classes you need to take. as I said, there might be a few that are required, but in that case, you still have the freedom to choose which classes you are going to take. Um, these are some of the options in websites that we recommend you start using when start researching your options. Collegeboard.org and studyinthestates.dhs.gov. Of course, there are more websites that exist for you to start looking into potential universities, potential schools. These are the ones that we recommend. And we also recommend you to, so you start a designated notebook or an e-document where you start writing down all the information that you find. At the end, I'm going to share with you some things that I recommend you to take into consideration when start doing this research. Now let's talk about completing your application. So I won't be talking about a specifically university or about a specifically application because we can basically help you and advise you and guide you if you're interested in submitting an application to any accredited institution in the United States. So these are just the general requirements that institutions in the US will require for an admission application. So now I'm going to be talking about each of them, but I want you to please take attention that the first 4 requirements are the ones that you're going to need for a community college, okay? Enrolling at a community college is very easy in comparison to enrolling at a college or university. Why? Because you don't have to go through a very selective or competitive admission process when you enroll at a community college. If you see the requirements are very easy to fulfill. You need to create an online application. You need to pay a fee. You need to submit your transcripts, calificaciones, and you also need to submit proof of your English proficiency. And that's it. And if you're interested in submitting an application to a university, then those 4, and also you need to submit standardized admission tests, letters of recommendation, a bunch of essays. If you're interested in an art or design program or area of study, then you probably need to also submit a portfolio and also proof of your extracurricular activities. So now let's talk about each of them. So the first one will be your online application. Usually the institution that you're interested in submitting an application, they will tell you specifically how you need to submit this application. And usually it's through the school website itself or using one of these other three platforms that's used on screen, either the Common App or the Coalition App or Apply Texas. So the advantage of these platforms, well, besides if it's a requirement for the application, the extra advantage that I think there is, it's that they will let you submit an application to more than one university at a time, okay? So, for example, we usually recommend our students to submit between 5 to 7 applications, okay? So if you follow our recommendation and if you're gonna be submitting 5 different applications, you get to do only one application through Common App, and it's a very extensive and long application, but you get to do one, and that application goes to all of the 5 universities that you're going to be submitting an application or that you're going to be requesting admission. So it is a great opportunity to take. There are institutions that are part of Common App There are also other institutions who are also part of Coalition app. And as I said, once you are at the university's website, reading the application and all the information, they will tell you specifically which of these platforms you will need to use. Apply Texas, it works the same, but it's specifically for public institutions from the state of Texas, okay? And there might be a few other institutions who they have their own platform. As I said, it's not their website, it's just a different platform, but they will tell you specifically. Also, you need to pay a fee. You basically need to pay a fee in order for the US institution to review your documents, okay? This fee is per application. So if you are thinking about submitting an application or requesting admission to 5 institutions, then you need to pay 5 fees. This fee depends on the institution. I will say it's around, I don't know, $60. There are a few universities that cost more than $100. Again, it depends on the institution, if it's a public institution or if it's a private institution, etc. Some institutions can also give you an application fee waiver. That means that they can give you, that means that you won't have to pay the tuition, the fee waivers, the fee, sorry. They usually give you a code, so you can apply the code, and so then at the end you pay $0. That depends on the institution. Not every institution has application fee waivers, but still, if you are trying to save some money, this can be a great opportunity. Also, if you don't find any information on the website, on the institution's website, feel free to reach out to them and ask them for application fee waivers. They usually, when they give fee waivers, they tell you to submit an application before a certain date, or they can tell you to write an essay explaining why can you pay the fee. And of course, there are some institutions who don't have an application fee. So that means that applying to that institution, it's free. Another requirement is to submit your transcripts. You need to submit your transcripts, your calificaciones from grade 9th and 10, 11, and 12. That means tercero de secundaria, primero de prepa, segundo de prepa, y tercero de prepa. You need to submit your transcripts. So what do I mean by transcript? Transcript is your boleta, your historial académico. So that paper where we can see the subject that you took and the grade that you got. So yeah, that's what I mean by transcript. So you need to submit those. These grades, these transcripts, they need to be translated into English. They need to be in English. If your institution already gives you the transcripts in English, then that's okay. You just submit those. If your institution here in Mexico, they give you those in Spanish, then you need to contact a certified translator to do that for you. The list that you see at the bottom of the screen, the link in blue, it's a list of certified translators here in Mexico City that can help you with those services. I know that there might be some questions about what if I want to submit my application and I'm still in my senior year? My senior year is last year of high school. You can do that, but still you need to submit everything that you have up to that point, okay? So if you only have your transcripts from tercero secundaria, primero secundaria, and segundo secundaria, or even that first semester of that year, you can do that. As I said, you submit everything that you have up to that point, because universities up to that point, they can see the type of student that you are, they can probably see a trend on your grades, etc. And that will give them a very good idea of the student that you are. Also, take into consideration that the grade system in the US is different than the one we are used to here in Mexico. Here in Mexico, our grading system is between 0 to 10 or 0 to 100, right? And in the US, their grading system is 0 to 4. That's called GPA, okay? Here in Mexico, we don't have GPA because our grade system is not from 0 to 4. Here it's just our Mexican promedio. So pay attention to that, because when you are, for example, working on your Common App, they will specifically ask you for your promedio or GPA, and they will ask you to select the grading system. If it's, for example, 92, well, that is a grade system from 0 to 100. Or if I have 9.2, well, that is a grade system from 0 to 10. If you want to learn what my Mexican promedio, my 92, my 92, it's equivalent to a GPA to a US grade system, then it's una regla de tres simple. I'm pretty sure you can do that. Or Google it, use Google just so you have an idea. But if you use Google, it won't be something that is official because it's Google and you're doing it yourself. This is just so you have an idea of what my Mexican promedio of 92, it's equivalent to GPA. Some institutions in the US will require you to get a certification of this equivalent. And these institutions in the US will tell you specifically how you can get it and where you can get it. So you won't have to worry about it. Also, some institutions, they do this in-house. Okay, let's keep going. Now let's talk about English proficiency test. So English proficiency test is another requirement that you need to submit. Of course, you want to let the university know about the level of English that you have. So usually institutions in the US will require you to submit one of these tests, the scores for this test. It's either the IELTS or the TOEFL IBT or Duolingo. I know some of you might have other English proficiency tests or other certifications. If it's your case, I will recommend you to get in contact with the institution so you know exactly which one they require, or if they can take the one that you have. As you see on screen, these 3 tests, they test the same for the same areas, reading, listening, speaking, and writing. You can do the registration and the payment of these tests directly in their website. Due to the pandemic, the TOEFL IBT, they started having at-home test edition where you take the test from home without having to go to a certified place. But pay attention to that, because some universities, they won't take TOEFL IBT test home edition test. They might require that you take the test at a certified center. IELTS, it's also a test that you need to go to a certified center to take it. And Duolingo has always been an online test. That's why if you see the cost in comparison to IELTS and TOEFL IBT, the Duolingo, it's cheaper. But again, it will test you, it will test the same areas. Also, take into consideration that different institutions in the US will ask you specifically for a score when submitting the application. So that's also that you need to take into consideration and also do your research so you know that you need a specific score in order to be uh, um, doing the requirement that they will ask you. There are other standardized admission tests that any student that is interested in pursuing an undergraduate degree in the US needs to submit. It's the ACT or the SAT. Both tests have a verbal, a quantitative, and an essay sections. As you can see, the cost is very similar, and similar to the English proficiency test, you need to pay and you need to register for this test online. These tests, they do have specific dates where you can be taking the tests. The ones that you see on screen are the ones that we have in our radar for 2023. Talking about the SAT, the one on the left, SAT, starting the year 2023, they decided to move all their tests to be digital, online. So you can take this test from your home, from your computer. The SAT, you need to go to a certified center to take the test. Also, some institutions, they will require a minimum score for you to submit an application. So take that into consideration. I always get the question that which one is easier, which one is better. That depends on you. Depends also on the availability of, as you can see, the different dates. It will also depend on your budget. As you see, costs are different. But I will say the ACT, the one on the left, ACT, will focus more in science. So for example, if you are interested in studying something related to science, then I will suggest you take the ACT. But that's just a recommendation. If you're not familiar with the test and how it is and what it looks like and the format just in general, I will suggest you take practice test, or start working on some problems so you get familiar, and then you choose a test. You are welcome to take both tests, but it's not recommended. It will be a lot of work. So choose one, study for that, take that. The link that you see at the bottom is also a list of some teachers' courses that can help you start studying for this test. We do have many resources online that are free and that you're welcome to check out. And we do also have all the guides, all the books that you can, where you can get start studying for the test at our advising center. They're at the Benjamin Franklin Library, and checking those resources out. So taking those resources to your home. They are free of charge. So let's keep going. Another requirement will be the letters of recommendation. You will be required to submit between 2 to 3 letters of recommendation, and they are in English. Usually, we recommend you that these letters are submitted by professors that have known you for about a year or more. I will probably suggest you stick to high school teachers that you've had in high school. Don't go back to secundaria or middle school or elementary school. I will suggest you stick to teachers that you have had during high school. As I said, usually institutions will recommend you to submit between 2 or 3 letters. These letters they need to be in English, and the letters are submitted directly to the institution. You are not allowed to see the recommendation letters. We've had different workshops, and we do have many resources for your recommenders. So if you already have a recommender online, you can put them in contact with us, with your advising center, and we can share with them some resources that we've had and that will help them to start writing these letters of recommendation. Another requirement are essays. This is an opportunity to let the institution know something about you that hasn't been shown in the application. This is, as you can see on screen, is a way for admissions to meet you. It's a space to show your personality, your character, and also it's a very important requirement actually. So usually institutions, they will tell you specifically which kind of essay you need to submit. They will also usually tell you also how many words you need to write, and you need to stick to that. For example, these are some of the prompts that the Common App asks when you submit an application. They tell you to choose only one, and you have 7 different options. So you choose only one and you write about that one. And then that essay goes straight to every institution that you will be submitting an application to. So usually the ones that you see on black, so 2, 5, and 7, those are probably the most common ones that I've seen, but you are welcome to write about any of these prompts, okay? So this is a must, an essay that, as I said, if you are writing or submitting your application through the Common App, then you need to write about. But then there are other supplemental essays that institutions will tell you specifically the question or the prompt that you need to submit. This is just an example of the University of Chicago. University of Chicago, it's known for having students write very different prompts, or very weird or very creative prompts. As you see, I'm gonna read just one. A hot dog might be a sandwich, and a cereal might be a soup, but is a blank? And that will be your prompt. You need to come up with blank and blank. So as you can see, they're very creative, and it's a way for institutions to learn, or to put your creativity and in test, and also your critical thinking, your problem solving, etc. Now let's talk about application deadlines. And these are very important for you to understand. Application deadlines, we have 3 different options here on the screen. The first one will be rolling admissions. I think it's very easy to understand. There's no a deadline set. You can just submit an application, and usually you receive a decision after a month of submitting your application, okay? So there's no deadline. Institutions receive applications until classes start getting full. There's also a regular decision where institutions will tell you specifically the deadline. They will tell you specifically when you need to submit your application. And by application, I mean everything. So you will need to submit every requirement, everything. If you don't send the requirements on time, that means your application will be late, and most likely they won't take into consideration your application because it was incomplete. So going back to regular decisions, they will tell you specifically the date that you need to submit that, and that happens between February and April. And then we have early applications. We have 2 types of early applications: early action and early decision. These applications, they usually happen between No, early November. So I will say November 1st is where usually early applications happen. So early action, not binding. That means that you can submit an application to more than one university, and then you wait for them to give you a response, and then you evaluate your responses, and then you let them know if you accept or decline that acceptance. As you see on screen, most of the times you can wait until March to provide an answer. Students should submit the application earlier to know the decision early. And then we have early decision that is binding. You are only allowed to get one application in early decision, because early decision is if you are 100% committed to that institution. If you are accepted to that institution, then as you see on screen, you will need to withdraw the rest of your applications and attend to that institution, because you are already committed. You already committed to attend that institution if you are accepting in early decision. So these are just the different application deadlines. It's very important for you to understand this, so you know when exactly you need to submit your application. Now let's talk about how you can finance your studies. So financial planning, we recommend you start this financial planning as early as possible. As you know, or as you may not know, but now you know, Education USA, we are not on a scholarship program. However, part of what we do is give you the resources and help you explore the different opportunities that exist in scholarships or financial aid. So we can also help you identify ways to reduce expenses, to look for special opportunities in financial aid. But also you need to take into consideration that the fact that if you are submitting an application to the US, just getting ready for the submitting the application, that will it will cost you money. So take that into consideration. Financial aid depends by nationality. So I will probably think that most of us have a Mexican citizenship. So Mexican students, this is very something important for you to understand, but the only source of financial aid that we have to study an undergraduate degree, it's the one that is gonna be offered by US higher education institutions, and that is it, okay? I want you to please understand, because sometimes we think that there are scholarships by the US government or by the Mexican government, or a few other institutions that will help me cover the tuition costs to go study in the United States. And no, that is false. I'm going to read it again. The only source of financial aid is the one offered by US higher education institutions, okay? And that is for Mexican students. If you have dual citizenship, for example, besides being Mexican, you also are an American citizen, you have US citizenship, then you have dual citizenship. So for those students who have dual citizenship, you can also get financial aid that is given by the federal government of the United States. That is only if you have dual citizenship. If you only are Mexican, then no, this is not for you. If you have any other nationalities besides Mexican, you can get in contact with those Education USA advising centers, and they can let you know a little bit more about the other opportunities, since we are only familiar with those opportunities that exist for Mexican students. Now let's talk about the the types of scholarships, or the types of opportunities that US institutions can give you. So we have the out-of-state tuition waivers. Usually, when you start browsing the fees for tuition, you will get to see two types of tuition: in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition. We, as international students, we are considered out-of-state tuition. And if you compare the two, The out-of-state tuition, it's gonna be a higher rate in comparison to the in-state tuition. And as I said, us, while being students, we cannot pay in-state tuition. Why? Because we don't pay taxes in the US. So some institutions in the United States, for example, public institutions from the state in Texas, they have some opportunities that are opportunities for Mexicans, where you can, if you're admitted to that public institution in the state of Texas, and if you demonstrate financial need, you can pay in-state tuition at these universities. This is a great opportunity that the state of Texas gives. Not only Texas has this opportunity, there are a few other states that have these tuition, in-state tuition, or out-of-state tuition waivers for students. So this is a great opportunity for you to explore, and this is a way to reduce costs. There are also some scholarships, and these are some types of scholarships that are offered to international students. Merit-based scholarships, as you see on screen, and as you see on the title, it's based on your merit, based on your promedio, based on your academic profile, based on your academic talent. So these are just scholarships, and they are grants that they're given to you. You don't need to give them back or to pay them back. It's a scholarship money. And also, if you are an athlete, that you pay at a professional level, or that you play at a national level as on sport, then you can also be awarded a merit-based aid scholarship. There's also the need-based aid scholarships, need blind or need aware, and as you can see on screen, these need-based aid scholarships are based on your need. Usually institutions will ask you about your financial status, and then they will offer you a certain amount based on your economic need. As you see on screen, be realistic, don't ask for less or more than you need. And also you need to take into consideration that the more that you need, the more money you need, probably the more competition you will face between other students. Now, this is just an example that shows the application expenses. As I mentioned, the fact of submitting an application is it will require for you to spend some money. So this is just an approximate chart. Of course, these amounts are in dollars, and we recommend you to start taking into consideration this. Application fees, as I mentioned, around $60, and if you follow our advice and submit an application up to 7 universities, then you do the math. Then if there are any documents that you need to get or that you need to get from your Mexican institutions, they usually have a cost. If you need to translate them, if you need to send them during the application process through paquetería, or if you will be taking the TOEFL or the SAT more than once, if you buy a book, if you take a test preparation. So these are all costs that we want you to be aware. Also, this chart shows 3 examples of the 3 different institutions that we already mentioned: a private institution, a public institution, and also a community college. So these are just estimates. If you're interested in learning about the specific rates or the specific amounts, go to their website, go to the institution website, and then you can review this information. Usually they will give you the cost of attendance, and then they will take into consideration the things that you see on screen: tuition and fees, room and board, books and material, travel costs, and personnel expenses. And as you see on screen, there is a gap, a very large gap between a community college and also a public institution. And there's also a bigger gap between a community college and also a private institution. So these are some of the things that you start to take into, you need to take into consideration with doing your research, if it fits your budget. Regardless if you need a scholarship, I know most of you are interested in getting a scholarship, but still, having a budget will help you to start looking for these opportunities. The last step is applying for your student visa. You cannot get a student visa before before having an acceptance letter. Once you have an acceptance letter, institutions will also send you some paperwork that you need in order to get your student visa. So this will be the very last step. I will probably say not to worry about this, because first you have to do all the application process in order to get your student visa. Now, this is just a calendar that I want to show you, because if you decide to start the advising process with us, then most likely we will be following this calendar. As you see on screen, and as you've been listening to me for the past hour, it's a long process. It requires a lot of time. It requires patience. It requires a lot of effort. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the more time you have, the better chances and the better opportunities and the better responses that you're going to have. So this calendar started at the beginning of the year, and then it goes all the way to November of this year when you submit an application. And then, so you start a program next fall. So if you're interested in starting a program this fall 2023, then you should have done this process last year. I think you are a little bit too late if you want to start this year. It's not impossible, but I will say most of the deadlines have already happened for universities. By now, I think the only option will be probably to submitting an application to a community college. But if you still have the time and if you want to start a program by next fall or later, then most likely this will be the calendar that we will be following. Now, what is next? The first thing is that you need to start researching your options. Please use the website that you see on screen, College Board, or if there's anything else that you want to another website that you want to use it. Don't use Google. Don't go to Google and just search like universities in the United States that has a marketing program. No, use one of these websites, because these websites, they have different filters that can help you and will let you have a better research and better results. So final information, start making a list of potential institutions, the ones that are in your radar, the ones that are that you're interested in, and also take notes. I recommend you earlier that you have a notebook or a document in your Google Drive or anywhere. And these are some of the things that I would recommend that you take into consideration. Find out the exact and complete name of your institution, the admission requirements, what are the costs, what are the financial aid opportunities or scholarships available for international students, what is the acceptance rate, what are the deadlines, and more important, what questions do I have? Once you have started doing this list of potential institutions, reach out to us, write us an email at the email that you see on screen, mexicocity@educationusa.org, so you can start your advising process. So we can give you an appointment with one of the advisors, and we can start helping you. Also, I know some of you might be underage. We recommend you that you talk to your family about this process. Talk to them about your plans to study in the US. Figure out a budget and also a calendar with them, and figure out what's going to be their family contribution. Okay. And now we'll do some Q&A. Before we do that, I'm going to invite you to follow us in social media. I will invite you also to review and visit our official website, educationusa.state.gov, so you can learn more about our services. Follow us in social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. We do have 2 YouTube channels. Go to them. We do have many resources for you. We do have a podcast on Spotify that is available to you. We also have a WhatsApp for Business number that you can reach out to us. And we do also have a phone in our office, and you are also welcome to reach out to us. Remember that we are at the Benjamin Franklin Library. Our office hours are from Monday to Friday, 10 to 7. So if you're interested in learning more about or starting this process, make sure you write us an email at the email, at the one that you see on screen, Mexico City at educationusa.org. Thank you. And now let's do some questions.